or freed slaves. Liberia was founded in 1821 when officials of the American Colonization Society were granted possession of Cape Mazzarato by local chiefs for the settlement for freed American slaves. African American immigrants landed in 1822, the first of some 15,000 to settle in Liberia. The survival of the colony during its early years was due primarily to the work of Jehudah Asman, one of the society's agents. In 1847, primarily due to British pressures, the colony was declared an independent republic. The American Liberian minority controlled the country's politics, and new immigration virtually came to an end with the American Civil War. Liberia was involved in efforts to end the West African slave trade. With a minimum of a budget of $30 million for the initial stage of implementation, and with an additional budget of $500 billion, we can secure ships, airlines, land clearing equipment, agricultural machinery, and construction equipment. This equipment will be used to construct hospitals, roadways, educational facilities, and technical schools and sawmills. This equipment will also secure jobs for the unemployed and housing for the homeless and foster children. This project will not only benefit African Americans, but will also benefit European Americans, the same as African Americans assisted European Americans for over 350 years to become some of the greatest agriculture producers in the world and to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. This venture and vision will give the nation an opportunity to invest in African American agriculture by purchasing equipment such as Caterpillar's, Case International, and John Deere equipment, seeds, chemicals, fertilizer, tools, and many other goods and services. We will use the boot camp concept, training facilities, and job opportunities that will incorporate a no work, no eat policy, thus preventing a welfare state, enhance an American patriotism, spread democracy and Christianity throughout Africa without resorting to gun violence. We seek to minimize hunger and starvation in Africa, to clean up American urban communities of crime, welfare dependency, reduce the prison population, and prevent droughts and global warming through reforestation. This plan will save America over $3 trillion over a 20-year period and make the streets of America safer. Mr. President, Congressmen, Senators, Governor of North Carolina, Mayor of Charlotte, and representatives of the United States, according to the Pledge of Allegiance, which I was taught as a child, in the Constitution, America is supposed to be a nation founded and built upon Christian principles, morals, and values. If each American would have enough righteousness in their hearts and accept truth and facts, there will be an improvement and great change in the lives of the people of this great country. My driving factors are based upon the biblical scriptures and commandments. First fact, Mr. President, is slavery in the United States was the worst form of slavery in the history of humankind. African Americans were forced to work 250 years without wages, adequate housing, and deprived of land ownership. We were uprooted, beaten, humiliated, murdered, separated from families, sold, put in chains and shackles, forbidden to marry, denied an education, the right to religion and serving Christ, forced through rape to create bastard families, and our national identity stolen. This been done to a people who fought and gave their lives freely and lawfully in every American war, cleared farmland and dug all the ditches. African Americans built roadways including the White House, America's infrastructure, before machinery even existed, and denied the right to go back to their native land. We were kidnapped and are still being held hostage up to this very day. We have been denied business loans through the U.S. containment policies. In the 1980s, there was a slogan created under the Republican Party, which stated, "Keep the black jelly beans at the bottom of the barrel." We have been prevented from having freedom in the United States or in Africa without autonomy. African Americans has lost over 15 million acres of land since 1910. Mr. President, according to the United Nations, established and initiated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Prime Minister Winston Churchill of Great Britain, Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union, along with the Prime Minister of China, documents were signed on January 1st, 1942, that are the principles of the Atlantic Charter for the protection of the nation's sovereignty. Unfortunately, the poor African Americans in this country has never been able to enjoy any of the world legal status or any of the international benefits or recognition. The Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, the United Nations Trade and Development, the United Nations Children Fund, the United Nations Development Program, the Economic and Social Council, the World Health Organization, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the International Labor Organization, International Monetary Fund, the Special United Nations Fund for Economic Development, and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, Political Science, and Refugees. Countries throughout the world have access to these organizations within the United Nations, but the African American, being a small country within a country, cannot receive any assistance from anyone, the United States, Africa, or the United Nations. In the 14th Amendment, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States, it states that, quote, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of that state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any persons within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws," unquote. You see, Mr. President, according to the Moses Law, enslaving a human being was a deed worthy of the death penalty. Slavery broke all 10 commandments of God and blasphemed the entire gospel of Jesus Christ. God commands reparations and punishment. Exodus 3:19 through verse 22. "I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, no, not by a mighty hand. And I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do in the midst thereof. And after that he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And it shall come to pass that when ye go, ye shall not go empty, but every woman shall borrow of her neighbor, and her that sojourneth in her house, jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And ye shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and they shall spoil the Egyptians."